That was, I think, a 299 cubic inch 6-cylinder. And what was it, up until 1958, it was like the biggest engine Chevy ever made. Because even the V8s were 265s.
True. So was that considered a sporty car?
It was. Of course, Louis and Gaston Chevrolet were racers. So he wanted a big beast of a racing machine. And that's what it was. It was a muscle car.
We're in the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
The Classic Plastic Model Club exhibition.
With Jeff Harper. At the end and the least, we got some video in, but we didn't get to do an interview.
Well, this is the 1911 Chevy, which was issued more or less like a dealer promo by Chevrolet dealers in '61 for the 50th anniversary. Very, very rare. It's been 35, 40 years I've been looking for one and found one a couple of years ago. Although it did have a removable hood, it had no engine, so Scratch built the engine. They had rear-mounted transmissions, so I used the one out of the, oh gosh, I want to say American La France, that's not right. What's the Paris to New York car?
Oh yeah.
That car.
That car, the Paris to New York car.
Yes.
It'll be in the comments.
Yes.
Unless one of us thinks of it sooner.
Transaxle Thomas Flyer. Edit that in. So that's what was used for that, because it was very, very similar. So there's a lot of detail that's been put into it. Charlie Rowley turned me some brass bezels to go with the headlights, because the headlights that came in the kit were kind of small. Like
He turned them out of brass?
He did. He turned them out of brass. Yep. The boot is off of a 27 Lincoln, so that kind of tells you how big the car was. It was a touring sedan. It was not a small car. They were expecting a small car like the little car.
Sure.
And he wanted a big touring car. So they were not happy at General Motors, but they wanted the Chevrolet name, so they had the car in production for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And then they went back to building the smaller cars like the little. The tires that came in the kit were very, very thin, and I didn't care for them. Those are the original wheels of the original kit, but the tires are the hard plastic tires cut away from the rims in the Beverly Hillbilly kit. I did the spare for the back, built a new gas tank, because the gas tank that was in the kit didn't fit real well. But they were nice enough to give me a separate hood. I didn't have to cut it away.
That's right.
And
took the risk out of it.
And I always say the biggest error in the car, it's got a bow tie. And the Chevy bow tie wasn't used until, I think, 1914. And it's an 11. There was actually only one 11 built, and they made improvements for 12, and they didn't go on sale to the public till like late in 12 or early in 13. But it was commissioned in 1911, so.
Wow. And probably since they did the tooling, let's say in the late 50s, someone at General Motors said, no, put a bow tie on it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It must have a bow tie, you know? But I thought that was hilarious.
Now, is that original plating?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the plating was pretty good. I tried to save all the plating on the grill and on the upper lights and on the tail lights. Most of it was pretty decent.
That's nice tooling. It really is for that era.
It was limited edition. It was an aluminum tool because they knew it was going to be a limited edition, and they were going to destroy the tool once it was done.
Wow. The paint color, did you have reference for that?
No, it is it's a duplicolor dark navy blue and a duplicolor black. All the reference material I've seen, I think the Sloan Museum had one day where they were restoring, and all the running gear and everything underneath was Chevrolet blue, which I was shocked that it wasn't just black. And I put the little speedometer cable on the front wheel and put real rubber on the running boards, and in the back it had a footrest and a grab bar. 1911.
You probably needed that for going through potholes.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
I guess you didn't need rear view mirrors in those days.
The kit didn't even have a windshield. That's like a windshield out of one of the AMT dune buggy kits. I had a dead-on front picture, and I scaled the size, and that worked out pretty good. It was just a pain building the bracketry and making it work and not being able to glue it into place because you had to paint it black.
So it must have been black. It must have been steel?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, if I could get a little shinier on the paint, it'd be nice. But I said to Charlie, he's like, oh, they come out nice. I'm like, yeah, but the paint's kind of orange peely. He goes, you know, it probably was back in the day. But I mean, it was a neat kit. I've been looking for one forever. And I was just telling one of the other guys when I bought it, I got home and everything else slid off the workshop table so I could play with this.
Totally inspired, ready to go.
Yep, it was a lot of fun, and you know, real cool, like my favorite thing in all my collection.
Cool piece.
Chased it for
I
too
can
long
see
for it
that.
not to be. It came out okay.
And one of the smallest probably
Yeah.
in your collection, considering all the trucks you built.
Right, and for some reason
All
I've
the
been
big
building
stuff.
cars. I don't know why. The 32 Chevy, I've started this 3 times and always had problems along the way. Of course, I'm using the 125th scale monogram Duesenberg Boattail Speedster, which is gigantic compared to a 32 Chevy. So there was a lot of slicing, dicing, narrowing, and trying to get it to fit. So I got that to work out, and I said, well, what would be really cool is if they had a Stovebolt straight 8. Of course, they only ever had a Stovebolt 6.
Yeah. But someone was thinking of that somewhere. But doesn't that Stovebolt go back to the 20s?
It does. It's an old engine.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how far, but
Right.
it does.
I mean, I know it started in the 20s and then lived up until
Early 60s?
early 60s. Wow. Very cool. And dual carbs.
Yes. Dual carb, dual exhaust.
Sporty version.
Sporty version. And with the boat tail, you have to have aerodynamic taillights. And they have the stop in them.
Oh.
So-
Where it actually says stop when the light goes on.
And those are the bottom pieces from a pen, the bottom of the barrel.
Nice.
3 colors of Tester's lacquer with the root beer, the dark red, and the bright red. And it just came off. I liked it. I mean, I'm not a painter, but
That's how you're getting those levels at all that depth.
yes.
Nice. Good technique.
Added another set of louvers to the hood and pushed it out, extended the running boards, kept the staggered seating because I just thought that was cool.
The running boards are really striking.
They are. I wanted to do something different because it's a coach-built car, you know? So that's a pattern that's available in one of the like Italiari truck kits as diamond plate. But it's a beautiful little checkerboard design, and I cut it on a 45 just to make it a little bit more classy.
Yeah, oh, it does. If it ran the other way, it would be like, okay, but this just tunes it to classy. What's the purpose of the seats being staggered a bit?
I guess because it's a narrow car, and you're not bashing elbows when you're shifting, you're not smashing into the passenger.
That makes sense. And also when they're lined up with narrow cars, if 2 people get it at the same time, they clunk heads, which is always an experience.
It's very Three Stooges-esque. I like the staggered seating. I think that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
especially with
It's
a
a great
stick.
look.
You're rowing through the gears. Those are my 2 little Chevys. A lot of fun.
Glad we finally got to talk to you about it.
I'm glad we did.
Over 2 states in a couple months. What's next on your bench?
Taking a Jimmy Flintstone, Henry
Yeah.
J, and turning it into a Sears Allstate. But on top of that, it's going to be a sedan delivery, and it's going to be a home delivery vehicle. And that's going to be my Sears home delivery. Sears sold cars in the teens, I think, for a couple of years, and they were basically auto wagons. You ordered them, they came to the freight station, you built them in the freight station and drove them home. Henry J thought that he could sell more cars if he had a bigger network. So he went to Sears and said, what if we license you a Henry J, sell it as the Sears Allstate, put Sears Allstate white wall tires, belts, hoses, batteries on it, upgrade the interior. So they've signed the deal, but they sold it for less than Henry J was selling their car for. So the deal only lasted 2 years.
Much better cars.
A much better car.
Wow, for less money. Very cool.
And a trunk lid, because the early Henry J's didn't have a trunk lid. You had to get to that area from the back seat.
And you got a real trunk,
Yep,
so to speak.
yep.
Like a bread box.
So they actually used the Willys Jeep 4 cylinders, so that's exactly what I used. But there's just a whole bunch of kit bashing there from a whole bunch of different sources to get what I need. I used a Studebaker 54 Stud front end. I had to narrow it like a 1/4 of an inch. I think they did a different head on these because I think they had Allstate cast into the head on the Allstate Willys engines.
Probably because maybe they upgraded the compression.
They could have.
'Cause that's-
it's an oddball thing, but they wanted
31 bolts in the new gasket and you've got more compression.
Yeah, but they were like crazy on trying to get, all the belts and hoses and batteries and tires all to be Sears Allstate brand.
Sure.
But it's funny how they got the little 1-barrel carburetor coming over to this gigantic pan of an air filter,
You're getting smaller and smaller
Smaller
as
and
time goes
smaller.
on. You're going to be in a whole new scale soon. Cool. I can't wait to see this finished. It's always good seeing you.
You too, Doug. Good to see
Thank
you.
you very much.